Hey up. So we're doing something a little different this episode, a first for this channel. We're taking a look at a documentary. That word is said loosely, though. We're taking a look at 666 Revealed True Stories of Real Evil. This is a 2006 straight-to-video documentary directed by Garry Gibson and Michael Gibbo Gibson. Gotta include the Gibbo. And they haven't done too much outside of whatever this thing is. And this is called Santa Claus's Favourite Home Videos and Pranks, and it's starring Kirk Cameron. So do with that information as you will. As far as who appears in this, I mean, there are some actors doing reenactments, but none of them are really credited. So I can't really say, and then it's just a bunch of real people talking about stuff. So, you know, nobody of note, I guess. There's like killers and people in it, like Hitler appears in it, but I don't really think he's got an IMDb credit for that. Or maybe he does, I don't know. So, looking at this looks to me like one of those straight to Sci-Fi Channel, straight to History Channel, weirdo conspiracy documentary things. And I'm going to take a guess that it's got very loose and absurd theories, all sort of thinly put together, basically. It's either going to be funny or infuriating, maybe, or hopefully it's not just boring as shit, like a lot of these are, like a lot of these films have been. Who knows? Let's have a look, shall we? Let's stop stalling and watch the film.
Lucifer, Beelzebub, Belial, Prince of Darkness, the Wicked One, Old Nick, Mephistopheles, Satan.
We begin the film looking into what Satan is, and also what a witch is and what a werewolf is, for those who don't know, I guess. The film then decides to pose its hypothesis, that being that a handful of serial killers were all conceived on some sort of satanic holiday. And then it says that maybe because of this, they're all spawns of Satan and pure evil. It then just goes through a bunch of serial killers and what they did, showing when they were conceived. The serial killers included are Albert Fish, Andre Chikatilo, Fred and Rose West, Harold Shipman and David Berkowitz, the son of Sam Killer. It's very, very boring, this film. It's only 60 minutes long and it fits in all those serial killers and goes into Satan and werewolves and witches. So even if you're slightly close to finding something interesting, it's over before you know it. It's super dry, it poses a lot of questions, and it never answers any of them at all. It just sort of skims through all these killers and then just ends.
Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek.
I am Yargog, the demon of death, and you are all fools.
Dr. Shipman, I wasn't expecting you today. Come in, come in.
Trashy's the name of the game for this one. We'll start with the acting in the reenactments. It's terrible. Obviously it's so over the top that it's laughable. We get a few people doing narration as well, and a lot of the time they're trying to do regional accents for where the killer they're talking about is from. And yeah, it's awful. A lot of the accents sound terrible. Not great at all. And then on top of that, we also get some really, really dry and boring talking heads, just to cap it all off, you know, to make it great. We also get some awful early 2000s CG, and it's like cheap CG as well, you know, it's blasting demon faces at us and it's projecting text on a 3D globe and stuff like that. It looks so cheap. And then there's the filters as well. It's doing a bit of a Rob Zombie thing, like House of a Thousand Corpses, where it's just chucking filters on whatever it can, inverting the colours, or just putting a film grain on for no reason. It's not great. So let's take a look then at this hypothesis. The main point in this whole film, well, it's super weak and it doesn't really delve too much into it. It feels like a child that runs up to you and asks you an absurd, ridiculous question and then instantly runs off to go play outside. And it just leaves you going, why? Why are you asking this? This is absolutely ridiculous. So, a little reminder, the hypothesis is that a bunch of bad people in the world, but only the 5 or 6 that it can be asked to mention. You know, it shows clips of people in this and then never really delves into them, like Hitler and stuff like that. It says that this little group of people were all conceived. So, I don't know about knowing conception dates, but some of these people were conceived in like the 30s and 40s. Maybe they did know when people were conceived back then, I don't know, but it seems like they just sort of know a vague window as opposed to a specific day, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that one. But they were all conceived on these satanic holidays. Now this is where the real issue lies. What are you talking about with the satanic holiday bullshit? I've looked into a bunch of these and, well, most of them for a start, or a big chunk of them anyway, it just says that they were born on Friday the 13th. That isn't a satanic holiday, that's a film franchise. It's ridiculous. I looked into the origins of Friday the 13th and there's no real definitive superstition surrounding Friday the 13th. There's a few loose ones from history. Somebody in a village died on a Friday the 13th, so it became superstition for about 6 years or something. There's no real major one. 13 as a number has superstition attached to it, and Fridays can sometimes have superstitions attached to it. But it's more a film franchise than anything else, really. It's ridiculous. And then there's other ones as well. Some are, like, most satanic holidays don't really have a definitive date. A lot of them are just vague concepts that you can just sort of celebrate as and when you want, really, I guess. And then it just doesn't do anything with this information. It just says, well, what if Satan? And then it just goes, oh, and this is what this killer did. This is what Fred and Rose West did in that house. This is what Harold Shipman was up to. It's awful. It's terrible. If only it could just, like, sum it up at the end or something, or just give a little thing of, like, well, maybe he did, like, but there is nothing, I guess. This is the thing. It's such a loose hypothesis with no evidence that they have to just resort to making shit up. I was born on a Friday the 13th. My granddad was born on a Friday the 13th, and I don't think he's murdered anyone. Absolutely stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. There is nothing going for this documentary at all. It's dry, it's boring. Whenever a slightly interesting tidbit about a killer comes up, it's onto something else. It's ridiculous. There are better discussions on killers and Satanism and things like interesting topics like that on YouTube, Netflix, miniseries. There's so many different options other than this piece of shit. Like, what you really want is to separate the two as well, because the two are interesting topics. Serial killers, I've always found interesting. Satanism, I've always found interesting. When you start meshing them together and saying, like, oh, it's all this, it's all, like, they're connected, it's bullshit. It does my head in. Yeah, watch something without all the Satanist bashing about a serial killer, or watch something about Satanism, Church of Satan and all that sort of stuff. Avoid this, it's a piece of shit.
Satan has been attacking both God and man. He walks about like a roaring lion. But according to the Christian faith, the devil's powers are not limitless. According to the New Testament, the devil's final...
Almost become kind of humorous. We all know that he's red, that he's got tail and horns, he carries a pitchfork, he's got...
As you can probably imagine, there's not much information about this documentary online, because who gives a shit about it, honestly. But something did crop up that intrigued me somewhat, and confused me. So I was researching this on Letterboxd to see how many people had actually bothered to watch it. Not many, not many at all. But while I was looking it up, there was another documentary listed that sort of caught my attention because it has the same artwork as this DVD, with the girl screaming and the trident and stuff like that. The documentary is called 666 The Omen Revealed. Obviously a very similar title to this one. So what is this documentary? Well, it's a documentary on the apparent curse. You know how some films have curses? It was an apparent curse on the original 1976 film The Omen. The documentary was made in the year 2000. And I think it was just a special feature documentary whacked onto Omen DVDs. But what's weird is that it has on Letterboxd, and only on Letterboxd, no other website or anything else has the image, and it's the image from this case. But up here it says Omen 666 Revealed, and it maintains the tagline, True Stories of Real Evil. Now this intrigued me. True Stories of Real Evil, sure, maybe you could spin that works with an Omen documentary, I guess. You know, true stories of the real evil curse that was on the set of The Omen, because I think some coincidences happened and people think that the film was cursed. What I want to know is, so that documentary was from 2000, this one's from 2006. What I want to know is what is the origin of this image? So on IMDb, neither this documentary or the Omen documentary has this image. Only on Letterboxd, the Omen documentary has this image. This documentary doesn't. It has a different image. So where did this image come from? Was it made for this documentary, or was it made for the Omen documentary? And what's even weirder, when you look this doc up on IMDb, the recommended films are the original Omen, the remake of the Omen, and then 666 The Omen Revealed comes up as well. So I've looked into who's involved, who directed and who wrote and edited this, and the same for the Omen documentary, and there's no connection. They're two very different documentaries. So why is this image associated with both of them in some form? Because this image for this documentary I've only seen associated with it on this DVD as well. It's so weird. If anybody has any information regarding where this image came from, the Omen documentary, this documentary, please let me know, because I'm kind of interested.
Instead, the crucifix, holy water, and relics of the saints are to be used to assist the driving out of the demons. And being a man was no guarantee of safety either. Werewolves were also thought to be witches, male witches.
And time for the print then, and I mean, it's fine, it's alright. It just sort of looks like a standard TV like definition thing. The blacks are a little blue, the whites are a little yellow sometimes, but it's clean, it's fine, no issues really. And on the disc we get the film and chapter select. Didn't really expect there to be any special features, to be honest, with this one. Okay, time for the case then. I've already said about the weird cover crossover with that Omen documentary, but let's have a look at this cover closer, shall we? This kid's face looks ridiculous. I have no idea where this image came from. And I think this pitchfork trident thing is either a toy or some naff CG. I'm not fully sure, but it's one of those where the longer you look at it, the worse it gets. The red's pretty striking and it fits the theme, and this one even came in a red case, just to sort of stand out from the rest of the collection, annoyingly I guess. The text on the back of the case is pretty low quality, but it reads fine, I guess. It's kind of over the top. It also claims to have an in-depth look at Satan and the Church of Satan, which is just not true. It's like 10 minutes tops and it goes off on one about werewolves. The screenshots have nothing to do with the film either. No idea where these got pulled from at all. The runtime is correct though, and I think this is the first E-rated film we've ever discussed on the channel. For those who don't know, this is usually shoved onto documentaries saying that they're exempt from classification, usually because of educational purposes. Although, there is no educational stuff here, I'm afraid. Lastly, this one also came with a Poundland leaflet. Overall then, you know what I'm going to say, this is a massive bag of shit. It is not worth your time in any way. It's got a stupid premise and it glosses over any potentially interesting information. Not worth your time, it's not worth the disc that it's printed on. It's terrible. A millenitrash documentary, if you will. It has the bad CG, the awful editing, and it's crap. So yeah, millenitrash documentary. Who'd have thought, eh? If you want to see something better, YouTube has probably got millions of better true crime documentaries. Netflix has probably got a 3-part documentary series on every killer in this documentary. And if you're interested in the Satanist side, I mean, stuff like Hail Satan from 2019 is a pretty interesting documentary. It's not the Levian Satanism, but it's still an interesting watch. There's stuff out there that's better than this. If for some bizarre reason you are wanting to purchase and own this, this is your lot. Of course it is. Of course this has never been reissued. It's pretty cheap though, and I guess the print's fine, but you wouldn't want this, would you? I mean, come on. So, awful. This is again one of the worst. It's down there with some of the other terrible films we've seen in this. Next episode though, something a little better. Something that I've seen a few times in the past, and something that is a very notorious film. Very notorious. I haven't seen it in a very long time though, so to be honest, I'm quite interested in going back and giving it another look. And this is another copy from being a kid as well. Next episode, we are checking out The Driller Killer.